Algorithms are a set of steps you use to solve a problem. For example, in math, when you add, you solve the ones before the tens before the hundreds. You might not know this, but in everyday life you use algorithms. When you walk to the bus, catch it, and that takes you to school, it's an algorithm for how to get to school. So, algorithms are pretty cool. They're used in various ways to solve a lot of problems. But the real question is, can they make you cool? Well, if we look at the Rubik's Cube, which is a puzzle that everyone thinks is impossible, when really it's just a set of algorithms you do for each step. If you learn it, it makes you seem pretty impressive, and it might even win you a bet. So let's look at the Rubik's Cube. It's a 3x3 6-sided cube, and each side is represented with a letter. You have your right side, L for left side, F for front side, U for upper side, B for back side, and D for down side. Now, directions are very important in the Rubik's Cube. You either do a clockwise movement or a counterclockwise movement, depending on the face it's looking at you. So a common algorithm is FDF counterclockwise. So that symbol just signifies counterclockwise. So there are 7 basic steps in solving the Rubik's Cube, and each step uses a different algorithm. You have your white cross, your right corners, your middle layer, your yellow cross, your top middle, your yellow corners, and finally, becoming cool. To start solving the cube, I do recommend stopping and starting the video so you can write down the algorithms you'll need. So, your white cross. This part, there's not really a set of algorithms used to do this. It's just getting familiar with your cube, how it moves, and the moves that it takes to get the proper square into its right position. Once you're familiar with it, you can move on to the next step, which is matching the top and middle side colors. So you use that algorithm. In this scenario, our red and green are mixed up, so we just use the algorithm, and now everything's lined up. So, step number 2 is your white corners. So you just use an alternating of those 2 algorithms. In this scenario, our green and orange are in the wrong position, so we just use one of the algorithms to take it out, and another to put it back in its right position. So our middle layer, you're either going to do a right drop or a left drop. So now we have to flip the cube upside down, and you'll notice Tetris shaped colors. So in this scenario, we're going to left drop our blue square and orange square so that it's in the right position. So you just do this set of algorithms and it drops. Now we're going to do a right drop where we drop the green and orange. It's basically the same algorithm as the left, but you're doing counterclockwise movements and using the right side instead of the left. Now that that's done and the middle layers all solved, you can move on to the yellow cross. Now it's not the same as the white cross because you have set algorithms now, and there are also 3 scenarios. You either have your L shape, your yellow line, or just a dot. In this case, we have an L shape, and we want our corner piece pointing towards us before we solve. So yeah, once you have that pointing towards you, you can put in the algorithm to do it. And there we go, our yellow cross. Make sure your white's all good and everything else. So now we're going to solve the top middle. In this case, our orange and green are mixed up, so we just use that algorithm. And it should put us back in the right position. Always make sure your yellow cross is okay before you continue. So now our yellow corners. It's kind of the same as the white corners, but we just use a different algorithm. So in this one, we have our green and orange in the right position. So since that is in the right position, we want it facing towards us so that it won't move and the others will. In this scenario, we only had to do this algorithm once, but in your case, you might have to do it a couple more times in order to get them all right. Finally, we are going to put the colors in the right location. So there's only one algorithm, but you have to do it multiple times depending on your situation. In this case, you do not want to rotate your cube as a whole, but just sides. So whatever spot you're working on, that's going to be the spot you use until you finish. So in this case, we see the color red facing towards us, so we know to use the algorithm twice. If yellow was facing us instead of red, we would be using the algorithm 4 times instead of 2. So now instead of rotating the cube to the next position, we just rotate the upper layer. And because blue is facing us, we do the algorithm twice again. And once we do that for all 4 corners, we solve the cube. So that was a very fast crash course on how to solve a Rubik's Cube and using that to become cool. So yeah.